ಎಷ್ಟು ಮೇಡಮ್? ಮಾದೇವಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಏನೋ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ?
ಏನಿಲ್ಲ ಸರ್.
ಯಾವರು ಮೇಡಮ್? ಮಾದೇವಿ ಮೇಡಮ್ ಅನ್ಮ್ಯೂಟ್ ಮಾಡಿ, ಕೇಳಿಸ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲಿ, ಯಾವ ಕಾಲೇಜು, ಯಾವ ಊರು?
ನಮ್ದು ಬೆಳಗಾವಿ ಸರ್, RLS ಕಾಲೇಜ್.
Okay, friends. This session, before going to assessment evaluation part, I'd like to discuss about communication, effective communications in classroom, which is very much relevant to teaching and learning aspect of teacher and student. First, I'd like to start with a research study which has been done by Professor Albert Mehrabian. The year 1967, even though this research study has made many years back from University of California, Los Angeles. Even today, this study's findings are very much important and significant in the field of communication skills. Let us see what that finding is. It says words are 7% effective, which is part of verbal communication. So language is verbal communication, what we say. Tone of voice is 38% effective, which is with non-verbal communication. And non-verbal clues are 55% effective. Purely these communications are non-verbal communications. The first one is verbal communication. Tone of voice as well as para-language communication will be 38% effective. And of course, non-verbal clues or communication is 55% effective. So when you look at this study, we'll come to a conclusion that what we speak using any language in the classroom will be of only 7% effective. If you take 1 hour class, only 7% of effectiveness will be come out of your verbal communication as well as the language aspect. More verbalism, less effect. That is the significant idea what we are getting with this research finding. And of course, 93% is given to non-verbal communication. That includes para-language also. Let us see non-verbal communication, why it is so important in the classroom. As our friends ask many questions about how to arouse curiosity, how to arouse interest among the students so that they can understand difficult concepts and they can do a lot of tasks with interest, and how they can give a lot of respects to our teachers. All these things are studied under these communication skills. Before going to verbal communication, first I'd like to give the difference between verbal and non-verbal. Whatever related to language part, that is verbal communication. Whatever related to body language and other aspects except language part, that is those are all related to non-verbal communication. So here, first I'd like to give some idea about different classifications of non-verbal communication, which is not directly related to any kind of language. You don't find that in any books or any dictionary. These are not related to any vocabulary or any sentences. These are all non-verbal communications, which plays major role in our classroom communication and interaction. I mean, 93% of effectiveness of our communication depends on these components. The first term coined by the researchers is kinesics, that is body language. Here we're going to understand and practice skill about body motion such as shrugs, foot tapping, drumming fingers, eye movements such as winking, facial expressions and gestures. So all these things, consciously or unconsciously, to come out of our come out through our actions. That's why this component is a component of kinesics, that is related to body language, body movements. The next one is proxemics, use of space to signal privacy or attraction. And proxemics is an area of space. How far we have to be with one person, and what is the proximity zone, comfortable proximity zone, that has to be understood. As we understand the kinesics through our body actions, so we need to understand proxemics also, because when we're standing before a person, we have to think about whether we have entered into the proximity zone of the person. For example, we are standing before a huge class of having more than 50 or more than 100 students. And how far we have to stand before the students? Whether I am entering the proximity zone or uncomfortable zone of any particular candidate, or any particular bench of set of candidates who are sitting in a particular bench. These are all to be noticed and identified by a good teacher while teaching, so that the teaching will become effective. If everybody looks at the teacher in the same way as every person looks at the teacher with a better proximity zone, everybody will be comfortable, and also the teacher will be comfortable to express whatever they in teacher's mind. So these things are very important. And of course, haptics is the area of touch, because even touch delivers a lot of messages to students. Where to touch, when to touch, how to touch. These are all the things to be identified, because when we touch a student, that will motivate a student, and also sometimes that will disturb a student also. So we should know when to touch a student, why to touch a student, which is the acceptable or desirable parts to be touched by a teacher. And what about touch factor in terms of opposite sex? These are all the things to be noticed while having good nonverbal communication in the classroom while teaching. And oculesics, that is the area of eye contact. Other slides, I'm going to talk more about oculesics, particularly how to make an eye contact, what is the difference between eye contact and staring, which is the appropriate zone of eye contact, whether it is only eyes, or is there any other part can be seen with that particular idea of eye contact. Those things to be discussed. And chronomics, which is the use of time, use of waiting, pausing, all these things comes under chronomics. How best you can use your time. When you enter a classroom, your time starts, when you think that your time starts, how to use that time appropriately, when to say which thing, and when to show the images, the audiovisual things, and when to use the time, because everything will be calculated in our mind logically to understand the importance of time to the teacher as well as the students. Students will think in terms of chronomics also. That has to be kept in mind. This is one of the components of nonverbal communication. Olfactics is an area of smell. So even we don't think that smell will give a lot of messages. Sometimes it will give knowingly and unknowingly, because non-verbal communications are generating from our emotional content. Our emotional in the inner emotional content is directly related to non-verbal communication. So lot of subconscious and unconscious mind is observing all these happenings around us in our ambience. Even smell comes to a lot. We have a pleasant odor, pleasant fragrance, then we like that, and of course that fragrance leads to our arousing interest, curiosity. Sometimes while we are meditating also, we need to have good fragrance. Bad odor should be eliminated. All these things leads to nonverbal communication. And vocalics, tone of voice, timbre, volume, speed, these are all paralanguage communication, and considered as nonverbal communication. So this is also important while we are teaching in the classroom. And sometimes make sounds like some grunting, mumbling, all those things will come under sound symbols. And these for these sound symbols, you don't find any meaning in or synonyms in any dictionary. But these sound symbols will be produced with our emotions. That's why non-verbal communications are always interrelated to emotional aspect of a human being. And silence, where we can see pausing, waiting, secrecy, when we practice some silence in the classroom, posture, position of your stands, body stands, how you stand, how you sit, whether you're enthusiastic, whether you are healthy, everything will be predicted with the posture. And our adornment, like clothing, jewelry, hairstyle, appearance, all these things count when we are in the classroom. And locomotion, the walking style, running style, staggering, limp, all this gives some message to the students. So these are the some areas where researchers have identified. Once again, I'll read the key terminologies of nonverbal communication: kinesics, proxemics, haptics, oculesics, chronemics, olfactics, oculics, sound symbols, silence, posture, adornment, and locomotion. These plays very important role when we are in the classroom. Some selected nonverbal components for teachers while teaching are postures. I'm going to speak more on this: gestures, facial expressions, eye contact, pace, appearance, audibility, modulation, fluency and speed, pausing. First, let me try to get some clarification and give it to you about posture. You can see two pictures here. One is the foot photography of a male person, and the one is a female person. And of course, how they are standing, the stance, what we are looking at is different from one another. It is gender related and sometimes contextual related. Sometimes it shows our health. Sometimes it shows our attitude. Knowingly or unknowingly, we can go with this kind of body posture. Sometimes what happens, even though consciously we do. Santosh Kumar sir, please mute ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಳಿ. Santosh Kumar sir, please mute your microphone. Sometimes what happens, we think that with our conscious mind we do a lot of things, but that is not true. We can be alert with our conscious mind only for about 10 minutes. If you practice 15 minutes, it may go up to, and 20 minutes. After 20 minutes, automatically your brain will switch over to conscious mind, unconscious mind. No, unknowingly, we will be doing a lot of things. We are exposing, exhibiting, and we are appearing to other person in a different way, which is monitored and guided by our subconscious and unconscious mind, not conscious mind. That will project our feelings, our attitude, our emotions, and what kind of psychological factor or variable which we have in our mind, that will be interpreted through our posture and other non-verbal components. So therefore, we have to observe a person. When students are observing a teacher, they will observe everything, not only the content or fact that teacher is delivering, whether the teacher is really good enough to have self-esteem, confidence level, willpower. All these things are there with the teacher or not. That shows with your posture. Even the health status, mental status, physical status will be seen through the posture. That will deliver a lot of message to the students. Therefore, while teaching, these are to be observed. And if it is not desirable to the class, how can we correct it? Through practicing that as a skill. That's why we call it as communication skill, teaching skill. So we need not practice if we are good at it. Otherwise, if somebody observes, or else you might have come across some video wherein you can observe yourself, then good. Please practice it as a skill. try to do it again and again with a good, acceptable or desirable posture while sitting and standing with a good stance, so that your psychological attitude, your attitude should project it through your posture. So it will lead to some kind of discipline in the classroom. When teacher is confident, automatically the class will become disciplined. Discipline should become out of self-discipline, not the imposed discipline. If you are a teacher, silence, 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 it will not work out. When the teacher is disciplined with a good posture, automatically the discipline will be transmitted to the students and they'll become alert, they'll become more self-disciplined, not imposed discipline, self-discipline. That's why all these areas has to be fine-tuned to make the class interesting and disciplined. And in gesture, we are having two types of gestures. First one is closed gesture and the one is open gesture. Of course, as a teacher, if you want to give a good teaching and practice a good teaching style, we need to practice open gesture in the classroom. In the second photo, you might have seeing a lady who is giving some instruction, is opening her hand, giving instruction. Like that, even if you fold the hand, that will become a closed gesture. If we put our hands inside the pocket, that will become a closed gesture. So as far as possible, we had to try open gesture. How open gesture comes out of a teacher? Again, it is a psychological fact. If you are open to everything, open to give some information, if you are open to receive some information without any hindrance or any obstacle, then it will become automatically open gesture will open up. Otherwise, we'll start doing closed gesture unknowingly. That is not desirable in a classroom in teaching. Therefore, as a teacher, we must have open gestures in front of the students. Automatically, the perceiver's mind will get such kind of essence that teacher is ready to tell everything he or she knows. Teacher is ready to accept everything what we tells. So it will become a good kind of rapport between the teacher and student. So it is one of the techniques of teaching. And of course, facial expression. Facial expression should be very reasonable, very pleasant, very moderating. These three pictures, of course, everybody is looking at the center picture. Without any doubt, I can say, because you don't want to see the right one screaming lady, and you don't want to look at the left one, which is not having more pleasant face than this baby face. So everybody likes smiling. Everybody likes a good smiling, calm face or pleasant face. Therefore, when we are talking to our students or talking to an audience, we need to have a pleasant face, and that will come out of our good psychological temperament. So we must have positive, desirable temperament to express good facial expression. Otherwise, it's highly impossible. We can act in front of others only for a few minutes. After that, again, our conscious mind will go back to subconscious and unconscious mind. We have some problem in our family, in domestic problems, other economical problems, some other problems. If we keep on having that in our brain, head, and we are coming to the class without overcoming all those obstacles, then automatically our facial expressions will be undesirable to the students, and that will not create interest in your class. A good teacher, in good teaching, we must have all these components like facial expression, gestures, other things should be positive and desirable. It will create positive vibration in the classroom, and every students will look at you with the same facial expression. It's a very simple experiment you can do as a social experiment. You go to any person, give a smile, that person will give you a smile. If you go to a person and keep your face very tight and with the angry face, if you look at that person will also look back to you in the same way. So, my dear friends, Having a good facial expression is one of the best quality of a teacher. Not only in the classroom, when we enter our campus itself, we have to leave all our troubles, all our feelings, we have to become very much neutral, become happy when we enter a campus, because our communication, our teaching starts when we enter into the classroom, not when we enter into the campus, not when we enter into the classroom. Because in the morning around 10 o'clock, if we enter the campus, everybody will observe, including our colleagues, non-teaching staff, students, everybody will observe us. If we have a present facial expression, automatically that will be upheld during our class, and we'll also feel happy, others also feel happy, and the teachers and students will be happy in the classroom. When the class is happy class, everything will be fine with that positive, desirable facial expression. That is one of the component teachers has to identify. And as I said earlier, we have to discuss more about eye contact. Why eye contact is important? You're looking at a photo where you can find zone A and zone B. We call that zone A and zone B or undesirable eye contact zones. Which is a desirable eye contact zone? Here, the green triangle which you can see, that is the desirable eye contact area. Why it is so? Because eye contact is very important. In Indian standard, we used to have eye contact for about 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds maximum. And of course, in European or Western context, we used to have more eye contact, having 6 seconds, 7 seconds, 8 seconds, no problem. And that too with the opposite sex, if we have more eye contact, the meaning will be changed. So it is contextual, it is need-based. How much eye contact we should have? If we extend our eye contact beyond the required duration, it will be considered as staring. So we cannot stare a person and make that person uncomfortable. That will be happen in the case of teaching also. As I said earlier, we have to love all the children equally so that we will have fraction of a second eye contact with all students in our classroom. That will make all students feel that we are in the class. My teacher is observing me all the time, and my teacher is having interest in my learning. All these types of ideas will be found among the students. So that's why eye contact plays very important role in the classroom. So that zone, triangular zone, is starting from the tip of the nose to the side of the ears. Triangular zone is very comfortable to look at. You do not look at eye. Eye to eye contact is not necessary here. Only that zone, green zone, should be having eye contact so that they feel that someone is looking at us who is having interest in us or in me or in the student. Like that feeling has to come among the students. And of course, we have to look at everybody equally with equal opportunity. It's also very important. Sometimes with our subconscious mind, we tend to look at only particular set of students, only the students who are bright, only the students who give answers always. And sometimes male teachers will look at only male students. Female teachers will look at only female teachers. Vice versa also. This may happen whenever we usually come out of this conscious mind. So, my dear friends, have an eye contact which is desirable. I'm going to use the word desirable because an healthy eye contact will lead to various effective learning motives. Therefore, have an healthy eye contact. And as I said about space and proximity, even sometimes between genders, between different socio-economic status, we'll be having different comfort zones. And of course, in the classroom, we need to understand the student's attitude and his background, maybe socio-economics, whether it's coming from rural urban, and whether the person is opposite gender or same gender as everything has to be looked into while having a healthy proximity. I'm telling you healthy proximity because everybody will be having different proximity zones, comfort zones. I'm using the word comfort zones because, for example, we'll be having very less comfort zone, less space for our family members. For example, for your spouse, comfort zone will be not even 1 centimeter. They can sit very closely to you. But for a stranger, the comfort zone will increase. For your brother, for your sister, for your mother, the comfort zone will vary. And of course, if some stranger comes near to us, when they enter our comfort zone, definitely we'll get disturbed. So that is the idea of comfort zone. So we should have an idea how much near we have to go to the students, whether it is desirable or undesirable. So in teaching, this also affects quality of communication and also of the appearance. Sometimes there will be a lot of debates about it. What kind of dress to be wear when we go to classrooms? Because each and every profession has its own dress code. If you look at a doctor, how do you consider a person as doctor because of the appearance? The doctor wears white apron, stethoscope, with a decent dress, and he cannot come like a film actor dancing and all. That is the difference between a doctor, medical doctor, and a film actor. And how should be a teacher now? Because we have great tradition, culture, because each and individual are from different region, different culture, different background. But ultimately, we have to consider the culture of our country, tradition of our country, tradition of our gurus or teachers, which we have observed, and what students expect, what community expect a teacher to be like. We have to understand and keep that in our mind. We have to use a proper dress code when we are going to institutions, colleges, and schools. So, which dress code is more appropriate? You all know well. Even wearing a jewelry, that is also important. We cannot make student uncomfortable by looking at our jewelry, by making lot of noise with our jewelry, with our wearables. So we should avoid some eye catchy things. We should be very decent enough to wear decent dresses, and we should appear in a way that we should look like a teacher. And not only clothing, jewelry, even personal grooming also very important in appearance as a teacher, as well as when we go to a classroom. We say our teachers not to be untidy, look decent, so that sometimes teachers, they will students will follow teachers. They will consider teachers as their role models. When they consider them as us as role models, how we should have to give them good appearance. So all this is counting in teaching. Of course, audibility. Why audibility is important? We say that not too loud, not too low your voice. Your volume should be reasonable. Why your volume should be reasonable? Because everyone should listen to you appropriately. If you talk in low voice, the last benchers may not listen to you. If you talk in scolding voice, of course, it will disturb the entire class and other classes which is running nearby. So the audibility is very important. The clarity is very important. Fluency is very important. Accent is very important. Why I'm telling all this? Because these are all para-language components. Modulation is important because you see that everybody cannot become singers. There are only few who can become singers. And when our modulation is appropriate and it generates some kind of pleasant feeling among students, therefore modulation is important. Fluency and speed should be according to the need of the class. Sometimes If you are going to a class which is having regional language and they are unaware about English language, then if you are talking in English, you can reduce your speed of flow. Fluency should be appropriate, accurate. Then I told you about pausing. Pausing should be intentional. There should be some purpose behind pausing. When we are teaching, there is a special scope for pausing. You need not pause everywhere. Sometimes we forget something and we pause. That is not pausing. That is a stoppage. If we stop with some intentions, some purpose, that will become pausing. So as a teacher, we should follow all these things in our teaching in non-verbal communication. And what about verbal communication? Verbal communication is related to language, as we said. Simplicity of the language is very important. Because it grabs the attention of the students. It also facilitates more listening. It's favorable for all levels of the students because we have two types of vocabulary, as you know, active vocabulary, and passive vocabulary. Usually we find a lot of active and passive vocabularies in the dictionaries. Ultimately, we end up talking in active vocabulary. That is the vocabulary used in our everyday life. We use decorative or what we say, flowery language. Using passive vocabulary, that is fine to showcase our language intelligence. But teaching, it will become difficult for the learners to understand. Because English language, when we speak about English language, English language is not our native language. It is something like foreign language. We call it as alien language. We have different regional languages in different localities, different states, different regions. Therefore, to accommodate all students to have a good listening, simplicity of language is important with all these strategies. And simplicity of the language enhances the comprehension level because we are more concerned about knowledge, comprehension, understanding. If our student doesn't understand properly, what is the use? So use simple language increases the beauty of the language. And when you speak in simple language, if they understand, the beauty of the language will be increased. It will not be increased with your scholastic abilities of producing passive vocabulary. Maybe in some context, in some places, the passive vocabulary or flowery language will do. Not all the places, because when we go to a classroom, we'll find different types of learners. We'll find individual differences, different motivation levels. To accommodate everyone, we need to have simplicity of language. That is the parameters for verbal communication. And use of appropriate vocabulary is important because while using any language, including English language, many words can be used for many contexts and instances, which is more appropriate. That has to be identified by a teacher, or that teacher has to become language expert. It gives correct meaning to the idea. For example, the words like good, better, best, outstanding, excellent. Situations will vary when we have to use these different words to appreciate somebody. So when we say outstanding, there should be something which is required to give that appreciation outstanding, excellent. When somebody says something which is eligible only for appreciating as good, we cannot say excellent. Somebody says extraordinary, which has to be appreciated with the word excellent, we have to use that word excellent only. So like this, it gives some correct idea. There are so many words which have its own essence. We have to understand how to use appropriate vocabulary for each and every situation accordingly. And of course, vocabulary promotes clear thinking and imagination. So in all the languages, the imagination level will depend on the literature. The literature depends on the vocabulary. While we are using the vocabulary, we have to keep that in our mind when we are teaching in the classroom. and more specific expression will be there when we use appropriate vocabulary in the class. For more students, vocabulary enrichment also is one of the part, because language is useful for all the subjects. This is the foundation for understanding all the subjects. So grammatical correctness is also important while teaching. It avoids misconception, enhances students' language. So without grammatical correctness, there should be some confusion, vagueness. Some may understand in a different way. Even talking with others with proper grammatical correctness will be appreciated by many. These are the things. Clarity in expression while teaching is also important. We can't express it. What is the use of language? Verbal communication. When we say language, language has three dimensions. First one is comprehension, second one is appreciation, and the third one is expression, the most important. This comprehension, expression are the parts which are very essential to understand any concept. Comprehension is a received thing. Expression, we are going to express this, bring it out. Clarity in expression reduces the misconception, as well as less complexity leads to more clarity. Listeners' attentions will not be distracted. So enhances the listening ability of the audience or the students. So by looking into all these things, if we don't have clarity in expression, it is not a successful class or teaching. So to overcome all the hurdles, we need to have good language, and our logical sequences and the flow of thought has to be fine-tuned. Then only we can express something, because communication skill itself is something which a messenger giving message to other person, receiver, and the sender gives message to the receiver. That has to be in coded form in the beginning, from the both sides. That has to be decoded again, and feedback will come back to the sender, and sender once again receives the feedback in coded form, and he decodes it, and again that will go to the receiver again in coded form. So coding and decoding keeps on happening in our mind, because our mind is like a black box, like processing. Everything is processed in it. Therefore, we should have some clarity of expression, so that whatever my thought is, that has to be understood by the receiver in the same way, with common understanding. What we say, common understanding. For fluency of the language, it comes with a lot of practice, because we speak our mother tongue fluently without any hurdles, because we learn mother tongue through imitation. We have not learned mother tongue through any grammar. Of course, unfortunately, we have learned English language by understanding grammar. In our schools, what they do, directly they start teaching ABCD, grammar, all these things. Listening, speaking, reading, and writing. It's an order. First we have to listen, then we have to speak. After that only reading and writing comes. It happens in the case of our mother tongue. But in the case of foreign languages, like English language, what happens? It will happen in reverse order. First we'll write, then read, then speak, then listen. That's the problem why everybody doesn't speak English language fluently. So let us understand these basic things, so that the fluency in language leads to captures the attention of the audience, makes the language more comfortable to everybody, less distraction and more comprehension for the students, enhances the beauty of the presentation. I like that visual communication. When you go to visual communication, one form, there are various things in visual communication. Here you can see both verbal and non-verbal. The chart which is the third one, the black chart, which is showing some alphabets, O, M, G, W, T, F. Usually you find such charts in ophthalmology clinic with ophthalmology doctors. right? Eye doctors. And of course, these are the graphical representations, charts, two-dimensional, three-dimensional, whatever it is. When you look at it, there are so many things has to be understood and noticed. Size of the visual, the colors of the visual, the contrast color of the visual, whether the text is contrasted to the background, and the appearance of the chart or any graphical representation or text, neatness and accuracy, all these things come under visual communication. If you want to make our teaching effective, if you want to give good guidance and facilitation to our students, we have to use good visual communication, because nowadays we have in the ICT. Earlier, we used to prepare charts and we have to write it on chalkboard, and we have to show many pictures. But nowadays, we'll be having smart boards, projectors. Through projectors, we can project it on huge projector screens, and we can incorporate, embed all these internet facilities. See the whole world sitting in one place. Who knows, maybe one day will come holographic images. With that, we can see 3D images. Already we have stepped into such technology in different countries. We can see the real person, image of real person, real object in front of us with 3D image. Now you are looking at me on a screen with 2 dimension, that is length and breadth, but you are not finding it with depth, 3rd dimension. You have seen 3D movies. Objects, all pictures are coming in front of your eyes with 3-dimensional markings. Like that, holography is a technology which, if it comes, visual communication will have greater importance in future. As a teacher, what is my role? How I can use visual communication to that extent to make the class more effective? All these things has to be well planned, and we have to update with the technology, ICT. So these are the things we have to understand while teaching in our classrooms. What are the advantages of good visual communication, effective visual communication? Most people understand things better when they have seen how they work. That's why if we keep on explaining a difficult concept, hours together, it's of no use. If we start showing them the real things on the screen, or if we take them to the real site of happening, and if we show them through demonstrations, through experiments, they will understand in a better way, in a better mode. Visual communication involved complex ideas can be presented clearly and quickly using visual aids, because everything cannot be explained properly. Because, for example, we have come across schooling where we have taught geography. In geography, we are taught about globe. We are taught about latitudes and longitudes. Without showing the globe, many teachers have taught us longitude and latitude. Some of them just make us some more concerned about these things, these theories, these images, by writing the diagrams on the board. But how many teachers have showed our students by using a globe or using a 3D image? Even today, many of us doesn't know about longitude. What is longitude? What is latitude? What are its importance? What are the importance of these imaginary lines we have drawn on the globe? And what is international date line? What are the importance and use of international date line? What are the uses of what is Greenwich meridian? Many of us doesn't know this because our teachers have not explained through appropriate visual aids. That's why it has become complex to many of us. If somebody explains it by showing the real object, through by writing the imaginary lines, imaginary diagrams, drawings on the globe, and showing what is international date line, what happens if somebody crashes into the how the timings are fixed based on the longitudes, how latitudes are divided, northern hemisphere, southern hemisphere. If everything is shown on the globe, that will become very good visual treat. Nowadays, we have technology. We can show the students through three-dimensional animated objects. We will give a clear picture of whole solar system, not only globe. Where is Earth? How many planets are there in the solar system as we have seen today? What is galaxy? What is beyond galaxy? There are millions of galaxies. We are in one galaxy. We are living in particular planet that is in one solar system among million solar systems in one galaxy. What is universe? What is cosmos? Why it is infinite? Just I'm giving an example. How we can make visual communication better and more effective by showing the real things with the help of information and communication technology. I cannot bring Taj Mahal here and show it to you. Just I can show the picture of Taj Mahal or a video clipping of Taj Mahal. Right? Recently, we have come across Dasara festival. Earlier, we used to have very grand celebrations, Jambusar. Because of COVID-19, we could not do that effectively this time, Mysore. If I want to explain about Jambu Savari, its grandeur and how it happens, if I want to show the Mysore Palace, now it is possible through three-dimensional animated moving clips. 360-degree clips I can show. You just search the Mysore Palace internet website. You'll come to you can see the basic view of palace. You can stand in the middle and look around. That is possible with technology. So we have to enrich our visual communication. That visual treat has to be given to our students while explaining, while demonstrating, while experimenting, so that the tough concepts will become very simple concepts. As our Vinayaka sir has asked earlier that question, how can we make the concept simpler to our students? There is no such thing as difficult concepts. If everything is seen visually, that will count 80% of learning experience. Therefore, people retain information longer.
ಒಂದು ಗಳಿಗೆ
Visually.
ಮೆಸೇಜ್
Hemant Kumar sir, please mute your audio, sir. Hemant Kumar, sir. Yes, thank you. With that effective visual communication, people retain information for a longer duration. Visuals can be used to communicate to a wide range of people with different backgrounds. If you want to explain information technology to farmers, they will also understand without the prior knowledge and prior background. It is not necessary for a software engineer to understand about information communication technology, the applications. Maybe he may work with programs and languages and he can create programs. But for a common man like a teacher and a farmer and others, we really can understand technology. Earlier, we used to pay cash. Now we have all the gadgets in our hands and with many applications like Google Pay, Paytm, Phone Pay, net banking. We are using our transactions. We are doing our transactions, banking transactions. Like that, with any background, everybody can access to information communication technology nowadays. If time comes, we all learn everything. So visuals are useful when trying to condense information into a short time period. See, I'm talking about so many things. This can be compiled in a small picture. For example, in my previous sessions, I've shown you different pictures having very little information. But while transacting with you, I have given a lot of information for about 1.5 hours. So we can condense everything in small graphical representation that can be shown visually, that is useful for the students. So these are the advantages of visual communication. As a teacher in my teaching, if I use audio communication, visual communication, oral communication, written communication, how best I can use all these verbal and non-verbal communications. That should be my concern in teaching. Otherwise, effective teaching is not possible. If you want to have effective teaching, that should reach the student. If you want to become a good facilitator, fine-tune the skills. And some more advantages, like visually used imaginatively and appropriately, will help your audience remember more. Consider the following: people think in terms of images, not in terms of words. So visuals help them to retain and recall technical information. Visuals attract and hold the attraction of observers because of various colors, the moving objects, animations, animated objects. It keeps on increasing the attention of the observers. It will catch hold of the attention. Visual simplicity, technical information. Visuals simplify technical information, as I said earlier. Visuals may be useful in presenting technical information to a non-technical audience. For example, if I want to know about medical field, nowadays a lot of animated images or videos are available in the YouTube. For example, how heart works. If you want to understand about your body parts, go to any website or click on the search engine and put the keywords. You can see that in terms of images, in terms of video clipping, whatever it is, the concept will be very clear to us. And even though we are not professional, we are not very much technical in that field, we will understand. It is possible because of visuals. So whatever we see through our eyes, it is a very powerful gadget if we are having. It will lead to 80% of understanding, 80% of learning. If you listen through your eyes, very less percentage of effectiveness. Only 5 to 10%, that's all. If you sense it through your skin, you can understand it in terms of only 10%, 5%, that's all. So, blend of experience through various sensory organs, that too, while visualizing the things, you use your eyes more, that will contribute to 80% of your learning effectiveness. So, suitability of the content, color harmony, visibility, display, appropriate timing, all these are necessary components of visual communication. Whenever you are taking some class with a difficult concept, if you want to make them understand different theories, abstract things, and you have to use visual communication such a way that it should be suitable to the content. Color harmony means the background contrast. For example, you're looking at a slide which is having a blue background with a contrast of light color, that is white color. And visibility counts for size of the letters. The beauty of the presentation, the neatness, the line spacing, everything counts here. The visual communication gives a lot to students. If the visual communication is not appropriately done, then your efforts will come down. Effectiveness will come down. So display, how you display, when to display, where to display, how to display. This is also important. Appropriate timing is important because we are telling something. After telling theoretically about some concept, if you display something after that, it is of no use. While telling something, explaining some concept, then there and then itself, whenever applicable, show the displays, show the graphs, show the images, show the texts, videos. So that is the beauty of visual communications. Many of us sometimes feel that we have not used displays at all, visuals at all. Only we depend on lecturing because we might have not prepared well with that. With less preparation, we cannot do that. For visual communication, we need to have good preparation well in advance. Once you prepare that, you can use it for many times for many people, many varieties of people. For example, you are all from different subject backgrounds. You are from law, science, social science, different backgrounds. And I'm using this presentation for different background friends. That's why visual communication plays a significant role. And in teaching, writing is also important. Therefore, written communication is also important. So, shortage. When I have to end the session? 5 o'clock. Can anybody tell me the timing? 5 or 5:50?
Yes, sir, 5 o'clock.
Yes, sir,
5.
5 o'clock.
Almost it is 5:50. So these things. Just you can look at the slides. So these are the important things to be noticed during written communication: conciseness, completeness, clarity, correctness, logical presentation, language simplicity, and grammatical correctness. So these are the barriers of communication as well as communication in the classroom related to our teaching. We have to face, we call these as noise in communication language. So how to overcome this? We have to overcome all these barriers. So in order to overcome lack of rapport, we need to understand us. We have to patiently listen to them. We have to become receivers that they be comfortable to us, build a rapport. And if your objects are not defined properly, if you have any problem with your language, make your language good by practicing it again and again, because you can talk any language with imitation practice. Avoid excessive verbalism in your classrooms. That is a barrier. So less talk, more activity. Less talk, more visuals. Less talk, more use of information communication technology. If any ambiguity, confusion, part of sender and receiver, try to avoid it. And understand the background and experience. Otherwise, if you talk to a person without understanding the experience and background of that person, simply talking is not useful, because we may not look into the pulse of the audience or learners. Selection of wrong medium. Select appropriate medium, which gadget to be used, which methodology, which language to be used, and choose a suitable time for everything. Don't pressurize your students with your teaching. And these are some socio-psychological barriers that has to be overcome while teaching. Aptitude, attitude, interest, motivation, everything counts. Without tension, frustration, and anxiety, we have to teach to our students. And of course, students should not have any tension, frustration, anxiety. We have to create such kind of important effectiveness, environment, and emotional state. Fine-tune psychology. Avoid defensiveness. Accept everything. If you start defending everything, then other person will stop talking to you. As a teacher in teaching, while somebody says something, accept it. You may deny it afterwards. Don't reject it. Accept their opinion, accept their feelings, respect it, then deny it. Permanency of attitude, prejudice, bias, overcome it. Domestic or social problems, overcome it. Lack of incentives. If you are not getting good salary, it has nothing to do with giving appropriate education or teaching to the students. If you're getting lack of incentives, means that is a different thing, because you're all from government service. Many of you, all of you maybe. You're all here in HRDC. What about private school teachers, lecturers? they don't have good incentive, how they work. They have to work. When we have chosen this as a field, we have to work. Let us develop, everybody, let us develop positive attitude. So like that, some more social psychological barriers that has to be overcome. Because when we want to make our teaching communications effective, we have to overcome all these negative thoughts, self-centered attitudes. Let us forget our ego. Let us not think that we have status, power. Even a small child may teach us different things, new things. Let us forget about superiority, arrogance. If somebody is superior, arrogant, even we don't want to talk to them. We'll become closed in nature. Let us have not undergo all these problems. Let's change. Closed mind, daydreaming, poor communication skills. Let us come out of this while teaching. So when we come out of all these social psychological barriers, of course, health status, external and physical barriers like poor infrastructure, any type of external noise, poor return of printed impressions, poor maintenance of equipment, substandard gadgets, weak transmission that is related to technology. So when we come out of all these things, definitely will become very good teachers and give the good teaching as well as effective teaching. So this is the last slide today I'm going to share with you. After that, we'll be having some questions and answers with you. I'd like to have that at least 3 to 4 questions should be there after this. I'll wind up my session with this slide. So after knowing a lot of things about teaching and learning methodology and styles, techniques, we have learned very small things. The scope of teaching and learning is very vast. So we have discussed about input and process aspect. Now let us discuss about the output. We call it as assessment and evaluation. As you are looking here, just observe this. What are the green colored table indicates assessment aspects. Assessment is nothing but a formative type of evaluation. It is used for diagnostic purpose. It is always process oriented. In regional language, we call it as andaj estimation. Assessment meaning estimation. It is not valuation. Yes, we are going to assess whether it is more or less, high or low, whether we may have to improve it or not. That is assessment. It is formative. Assessment test how learning is going. Diagnostic test. Before giving input, we have to diagnose and find out the problems. Then only we can start our teaching. It identifies areas for improvement. It identifies weaknesses and improve the learning. It has to be conducted during the learning process, not at the end of the process. Assessment helps students to learn from each other. But in the case of evaluation, that is the end product. Evaluation tests, we call it as summative assessment. So summative evaluation. That is not assessment actually. Evaluation tests what has been learned. It is judgmental. It arrives at an overall score. That the quality held at the end of the learning process. That's why we call it as output. Make students compete with each other. These are the various components of assessment and evaluation. And of course, we also use the word measurement. Measurement is subjective to some extent, and to some extent it is more objective. How it is more objective? Because we measure in terms of scaling. We use data techniques to measure it. It will become more objective in that sense. But there are so many hidden factors, values, some of the qualitative aspects that cannot be measured. How do you measure that? With the help of assessment and evaluation. There are various techniques in assessment evaluation. So we have to understand those techniques of assessment evaluation. Nowadays, everybody knows about formative and summative assessment and evaluation. Now we are coming to the digital world. We are talking about various types of examinations. We're talking about multiple choices. We're talking about descriptive answers. We're talking about closed questions, open-ended questions. So these assessment and evaluation should be followed by teaching. Otherwise, we could not know the output, what has happened in the process, in the black box. So after knowing about the performance, achievement, and the product, we can take the judgment summatively, and we can again give the feedback through another input. That is the beauty of evaluation and assessment. Earlier, we used to do a lot of tests, examinations to the students. Nowadays, we are thinking about open book examinations. We are not more or less concerned about memorization. We want to know about students' application level, skill level. There are 4 things which has to be understood if you want to evaluate something. The first one, knowledge. The second one, understanding. Third one, application. Fourth one, that is skill. We call in short as KUAS, knowledge, understanding, application, and skill, from lower order knowledge to higher order application. If you want to assess these 4 elements, 4 objectives we say, under assessment and evaluations, we have to use different techniques, strategies. We may assess it or evaluate it through qualitative as well as quantitative data. There are so many techniques of getting information or achievement scoring through quantitative aspect, like giving them tests, exams, and even difficulty level of the tests, examinations. For example, if any course or program is prepared, then question paper is given. How do we prepare question paper? First, we'll write a blueprint of the question paper, wherein we are going to give preference for all topics which is in a textbook, in a syllabus. So equal weightage has to be given to all topics from one side. From another side, equal weightage has to be given to all objectives like correct knowledge, understanding, application, skill. And we have to give both type of difficulty levels, high difficulty, low difficulty. And also in that blueprint, we have to give them different formats of questions, not only descriptive questions, not only multiple choice questions. There are so many varieties of questions to be asked. For example, if you are asking a question for knowledge aspect, what, when, and where is appropriate, use the prefixes for the statement, question statement. If you want to go to a higher level to understanding and application level, how, why, critically analyze, critically think, justify, these kind of terminologies will be used for that question. If you want to extract the knowledge of having a skill, that is the higher order than application, you have to give them hands-on to understand whether they are really effective in handling the situations with the appropriate gadgets or appropriate objects. That is skill level. So knowledge, understanding, application skills are there in assessment and evaluation. We have to give equal weightage to all subjects, equal weightage to all objectives, equal weightage to types of questions, equal weightage to difficulty levels of the questions. So these 4 dimensions are there when we make blueprint. Therefore, while preparing a question paper, First, objectives should be known. Second, blueprint should be prepared, blueprint. Third, we have to write questions, prepare the question paper based on that blueprint. After writing the questions, if you are not satisfied with the questions, you can make it as a standardized test or standardized question paper by employing that question to a limited people or students, and make a pilot study and get the standardization, then execute it to the huge group. So you may find a lot of psychological tools, standardized tools in the market, which has been published by various researchers. So that can be used for research studies. For institutional evaluation and assessment, based on your experience, just prepare the blueprint based on these strategies, like giving equal weightages to objectives, subjects, topics, types of questions, and also types of difficulty level. That is enough for your blueprint. Simply, if you prepare a question paper without these objectives and blueprint, some questions papers may have more difficulty level, less difficulty level, may not cover all the syllabus, may not cover all the objectives, knowledge, understanding, application skill. So we cannot test all areas of a student's learning. That will become a problem. Therefore, everything is scientific. Do it scientifically. Whatever it is, teaching, learning, assessment and evaluation, these are all scientifically done, proved by researchers. So whatever methodologies, techniques, teaching, learning styles to be considered, appropriate evaluation procedures to be identified and executed, planning, execution, these components are very much important in system approach. As I said, input, process, and output. Not only planning, it has to be executed in such a way that it should reach the target group and fulfill our service and purpose. That is the beauty of teaching, learning, and assessment. So with this, I want to continue with that for more time. Already it is 5 o'clock.
Okay, thank you, sir, for your valuable informative
Lots of questions. Yes,
lecture.
sir.
Sir, my query regarding extracurriculum activity of candidate. How can we give the weightage for extracurriculum activity?
It's a very good question, sir. Today we are talking more about that. Nowadays, it is not extracurricular. We have to consider these activities as extended curricular activities. Unfortunately, in our country, we are considering it as extracurricular. The word itself says it is not the mainstream, it is extra. Correct? So we have to overcome such concepts, because as I said about multiple intelligences, various individuals may be having different types of intelligences. So your question throws light on how weightage should be given. No need to give the weightage, sir. If the person is interested in sports, with this basic education, the person has to be given more practice in a particular sport. But when it will come in our education system, I don't know. I cannot say exactly. That is the problem. If the person is interested in music, with this basic education, let him give some training in the particular area. The parents, community, and teachers, as it is our responsibility to give them, nurture them in that particular intelligence or in their behavior. We don't have any right to tell all the students to come first rank in academics. That is a violation of human right. We expect it even for our children. We want our children to get distinction, first rank, second rank, above 99%. Funny. But you cannot, there is a proverb. You cannot ask a fish to do all activities which is done by other animals. Fish is good at swimming. Cheetah is good at running. Rabbit is good at running. And tortoise is good at going inside the river and swimming fast. You cannot walk fast on the road. If we are asking a tortoise to climb a tree, it cannot climb. A monkey can climb well. Correct, sir? We have all seen these pictures in WhatsApp and Facebook. That's why let us not think more about extended curricular activities, because already we have started giving grades, the marks cards, A grade, B grade, C grade, right? Earlier, that was neglected. We used to call it as co-curricular activities in the beginning. Then we have revised that term and we started calling it as extracurricular. Now we are trying to think about extended curricular. It is not apart from curricular, it is with curriculum. Extended, that's all. The academic things are extended to these things. So we can classify these as scholastic abilities and non-scholastic abilities. Those who are good at scholastic abilities, they will be first benchers. Usually, those who are good at non-scholastic abilities, sometimes they'll be middle benchers, sometimes very good non-scholastic abilities with last benchers. Who will become our leaders? Those having non-scholastic abilities. So let us understand all this system, what we are having today, because in foreign countries, I heard that in some advanced countries, they will conduct biotests. When they are in primary schools, they will be tested, their blood and genetics will be tested to identify in which field they are good at. From there itself, they'll be put into training. There they'll get the appropriate training in different fields, in sports, in music, in fine arts, in academics. That's why in Olympics is the best example. Why we don't get gold medals in Olympics? It is very difficult for Indians to get more gold medals. Why Russians, Americans, Chinese, and other European countries are bagging gold medals in Olympics? Because we are very much concerned about first rank, second rank, third rank. Our teaching always flow in that way. Our learning and our attitude are always flowing in that way. We are not thinking about different things. We are not ready to accept one day will come, even Indians will accept it. So as Mr. Muhammad Dabi has asked a very beautiful question. How to give weightage? No, you need not give weightage to anything. So we have to consider all students, all individuals are equal in one or the other way. Somebody knows this, somebody knows that. So let us keep that in our mind. Let us not pressurize our students. Our teaching should not pressurize students. They should love teachers. They should love subjects. They should understand subjects. That's all. Learning is more important than scoring marks. Life is more important than living, because your standard of living is calculated by per capita income. How do you calculate the standard of life? With your happiness, with your peace of mind, not with your per capita income. Let us teach this to our students. Thank you, sir. Nandan Swami sir, kutkonidira mugita bantu time.
Yes, sir. Good, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you all for patient listening. I extend my special thanks to Dr. Nandan Swami sir for giving me this opportunity to meet learned colleagues who are sitting over there. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
One of the participants.
Thank you, sir.
Sir,
Yeah,
on the behalf of the
Things
group,
I want to.
one sentence.
madam, please.
Pratham.
Sir, it's my privilege to propose vote of thanks for you. So it's a wonderful talk that we had, and it's very informative, and you have explained all about the enlightened us, especially with the non-verbal communication, which is very much required for a teacher. And also you have given a clear overview of the challenges before the teachers to be a successful teacher. So thank you very much, sir, on behalf of HRDC, University of Mysore, and on behalf of all my fellow teachers. I Thank you very much for the wonderful session, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
Thank you,
everyone.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Next topic.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Dear participants, it's 5:10. Most of the time, I observed that the sessions are going up to, instead of 1 hour 15 minutes, it will going up to 1 hour 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay, so and so. But I could not able to stop the resource person at that point. But if you all mind, you can do that. Please
No, sir.
do one thing. Let them talk up to 1 hour. Okay, after that, even they may take 1 hour 5 minutes. But you try to intervene and ask some questions and something like that. Okay, if you keep quiet, they will certainly consume all the time or the duration for the lecture and interaction purpose both. No? Okay,
Yes,
that's
sir.
my
We can do that, sir. Because
observation.
next
But I don't know
resource
how do
person
you
might be difficult.
tackle this problem.
Can you remind them
I can understand.
chat box,
I am
sir?
in
Understood,
your
sir.
place, I could not able to say, please stop, it's a time, something. Okay, but somehow you try to.
Sir, can we remind them through the chat box?
Chat box, most of the time they didn't see the chat box.
We can say them directly, sir,
Mhm.
in a polite manner.
What, madam?
We can say that we can request them
You can
to
request
stop
him.
at that
Okay,
point
sir,
of time.
your lecture session is for 1 hour 15 minutes. We already informed through this one mail, okay, through invitation. But even though that in particular in your FIP, not in refresh course, I think. But it happens so because the thing is, I know why they are consuming more time, because earlier the duration of each session is 1 hour 30 minutes. They will keep in mind that HRDC means one session is 1.5 hours. That was in their mind. That's the reason why they are consuming much time than the actual. Okay,
But it's very difficult to have our lunch and come back within half an hour because they are mostly